Okay. What is this? Nice horses. This is St. Matthew Episcopal Church graveyard. This was a Episcopal church in Henderson County. The original name, according to all the old local folks around here, it was St. Matthew. In the cemetery book, Henderson County Cemeteries, they've called it St. Elizabeth Episcopal Church. I don't understand why, because everybody that I've talked to that lives in this community calls it St. Matthew. So they handed me a hymnal, and it said St. Matthew Episcopal Church.
And was it a white church or a black?
White. So I don't know why it's called St. Elizabeth in the cemetery book. I don't know where the St. Elizabeth came from. That's why I was thinking you might be able to help me with this. But a lot of people call it St. Elizabeth, and others call it, but the local folk will call it St. Matthew, and there is a hymnal saying St. Matthew. Now this church was started in the very early 1900s, from what I understand. I'm not sure. I'm thinking early 1900s. If you look at the gravestones, they're all 20th century, but some of them are earlier than mid 20th century. I mean, so I know that the old timers in the community that grew up here and went to church here in the 1930s, 1920s, and all the way up. So I'm not sure of the original date of this church. I don't know if it was torn down, or if it burnt, or why the congregation quit meeting here. I have been told recently, and where's Ray Rhodes?
Here.
Henderson County Genealogical Society, in the journal, one of the quarterly journals, did an entire huge story on this church. Can you tell me about it? Did you read it?
I don't remember.
I haven't tracked down that journal in time for this field trip. So I just didn't have time to go track down that
How far back?
I don't know.
There's,
In the last couple of years, I guess.
there is a subject index to the journals
Okay.
at the society office.
And I don't know if it will say St. Elizabeth or if it will say St. Matthew.
Well, whichever it says will be in the subject
So I've
index.
actually got to go up to the Genealogical Society, look through that index, find that story, and see what that person
Well,
wrote.
if it's been in the last 10 years, I have a copy
He's got
of
the
it
index
at
of
home.
That would be fantastic.
I'll make
That
you
would
work
be
for it tonight.
fantastic. Because I would, and I know Joy would, because they're doing an
Yeah.
Episcopal history. And I would love to know about this, more about this church. But I have talked to people in the last 2 weeks that tell me, well, I've got the hymnal from that church, and my mom grew up in that church. So the person I'm talking to, you figures in their 70s, their mother grew up in the church. We're talking early 20th century.
Episcopal?
Episcopal.
Well, why don't you go to the diocese office?
Well,
I mean, that's the authority on it.
not on history. I've
Not
run
on
into-
history?
Not on history.
Don't they have to?
What about doing a deed
Well,
search?
they have the
Yeah.
convention records, but
No, not the convention records, but there's something that has to happen before a church. Maybe it's consecrated or whatever. They
Yeah.
have to send somebody out from the office.
It might
It's a
be.
big deal.
it might be, and it
If-
might be that.
They would also, when it closes, I would think.
Yeah. I think that
Yes.
this one might be in the diocese. I can't. No, I think we were already the diocese of Western North Carolina then. It might be the diocese of North Carolina. Depends on when it was consecrated. If it would be here or in Winston-Salem.
See, I could be wrong. It could be Methodist Episcopal and be counted as a Methodist church.
Well, that I thought might be a black church because they're A and
They're AME, but
Yeah.
this isn't a black church. These are white folks that went to this church. And these are white families.
then you're right. The diocese should have some.
It says Methodist Episcopal, which could be sometimes Methodist, sometimes Episcopal,
Yeah.
but everybody here makes it sound more like it's Episcopal.
Well, write the
And
same
so
letter.
I'm very confused.
Yeah.
Write the same letter, and just change the heading to the two separate entities. And ask them, do you have any information?
Well, I bet that journal article would have
Yeah.
more history.
But anyway, this is the cemetery that went with the church.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't know whether the journal is the authority or not.
Well, that's a good point.
I'd go
Where's the
back
church
to-
located? Up here?
I'm gonna guess right where we are, probably. I'm thinking over in this section somewhere. And I said, did the building disappear? I was interested in what kind of building it was, because that tells me a little more too. If it's an old white clapboard log building, it was probably Methodist.
Yeah.
If it was a more architecturally significant structure, it was probably Episcopalian. But I don't know.
One of the foundations don't remain on some of these.
Because people said their families were going here as late as World War II. I'm not seeing a foundation of a building.
No.
So it's
I'll see what I
very
can find
interesting.
out, Jeannie, if I find it.
Okay. But I wanted you folks to know it was here, because I passed down here all my life and never even noticed it up here. So just recently.
Really interesting.